LGBTQ. It's an acronym that is often made fun of by people who don't understand our community, or people that just like to hate other people for some weird reason. You might have heard of our community referred to as the Alphabet Mafia.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Which, I'll admit, is objectively funny. But what does LGBTQ stand for, and what is the real gay agenda? This episode is sponsored by the all-new Gay Agenda Notebook, with over 100 pages for you to take notes from your favorite rainbow show, read all about the gay agenda, and where you'll find your favorite characters from Powered by Rainbows, including Mr. Nutterbutters, Shadow, and more. It's available now in paperback and hardcover using the link below. LGBTQIA is an acronym, so first, let's break it down. L stands for lesbian. This is a noun that refers to a woman who loves other women. Lesbians make up 19% of those that openly identify as members of our community. G stands for gay, which technically means anyone who loves someone of the same gender, and that includes lesbian. But generally, the word gay is used to refer to a man loving another man. Gay men make up 36% of those that self-identify as members of our community. The B stands for bisexual, which means someone is attracted to two genders, one of which could be their own gender, but does not necessarily have to be. They make up over 40% of those that identify as members of our community. T stands for transgender, which means someone's gender identity doesn't match their sex assigned at birth. For example, a girl who was born with male body parts, or a boy who was born with female body parts. Transgender people make up 5% of those who identify as members of our community. Q stands for queer or questioning. Queer is a term used to describe someone in the LGBTQ community, but with a lot less syllables, and it helps people better understand our whole community using just one word. I stands for intersex, which means a person is born with a combination of male and female biological traits. And finally, A stands for asexual or aromantic, and it means a person is not sexually or romantically attracted to any gender, but they can still have relationships and friendships. You might assume from the LGBTQ acronym that our community is small, but the truth is, up to 20.8% of the world's population are members of our community. In fact, if we had our own country, the LGBTQ would be the single largest country by population, surpassing China and India both individually, and surpassing the United States, Indonesia, Pakistan, Brazil, Nigeria, Bangladesh, and Russia combined. But why is our community so large? Well, it's because it includes millions of gender identities on the gender spectrum, and hundreds of millions of orientations on the 7 spectrums of attraction. In fact, most analysts believe the queer community is much larger, and the only reason that only 20.8% openly identify as members of our community is because many countries, including the United States, have so much discrimination at all levels of government that it prevents more people from openly admitting they belong to the community. So someone questioning their gender or wondering if they are attracted to someone of the same gender is completely normal and perfectly healthy. A big misconception about our community is the science behind it. You might have heard that it's a choice to be gay or bisexual, but how we love is embedded deep in our DNA, long before we are born. And science has now proven that if someone is gay, chances are someone in their parents' generation, if not the parents of the queer child themselves, are members of the LGBTQ as well. So there is a direct link passed on through generations, embedded in your genetic code. Similarly, there's a scientific law that proves your gender identity is valid. Your gender is actually determined by your brain, and MRI brain scans prove trans women have brains closely resembling cisgender women. And nowadays, Hospitals and medical care facilities around the world are luckily helping trans people better understand how normal and perfectly healthy it is to be trans. It should be noted that if someone identifies as gay, it does not mean they are trans, and vice versa. These are two separate entities entirely, even though they are included in the same LGBTQ acronym. A child as young as 3 years old can start figuring out their gender identity, and children of all ages start figuring out who they were meant to love and who they are attracted to. But children who start questioning these things are not always surrounded by friends and family members who love them unconditionally. So if you start noticing your child flirting with someone of the same gender, or start to go against the typical gender roles we assign them, make sure they know how much you love them no matter what. Sadly, a lot of LGBTQ kids feel like they're alone, even though 20.8% of the world is just like them. In fact, over 1,500 known animal species on Earth have LGBTQ members. This includes giraffes, dolphins, lions, monkeys, chickens, cats, dogs, and more. Some of the greatest people who have ever lived were members of our community, including Abraham Lincoln, Alexander Hamilton, Leonardo da Vinci, Sir Francis Bacon, Aubrey Beardsley, Charles Demuth, Oscar Wilde, Michelangelo, and more. In fact, many people believe our community only started in 1969 at the Stonewall riots, but the only reason those riots happened was to gain back the freedoms and equal rights that were stolen from our community years before it. As far back as history can record, in 9600 BC, there were gay cavemen roaming the earth. In 3000 BC, there were transgender people that were so widely accepted for their gender identity that they were buried according to their gender identity instead of their sex assigned at birth. In the Egyptian Empire, there were gay pharaohs, and in the Roman Empire, there was even a god of homosexuality named Antinous. History books won't tell you the story of Baron Friedrich von Steuben, who was the gay man who led the infantry, and Casimir Pulaski, who led the cavalry to win the American Revolution. All the while, another gay man named George Washington played politics and became the first president of the United States. Ever since religious translators in 1946 made wild accusations to justify their own actions, being gay was suddenly compared to pedophilia, even though our community has never accepted or fought for the rights of minor attracted individuals. But it was thanks to these wild religious accusations that suddenly made millions of people worldwide believe being gay was a sin. But if you look back to the original scripture, being gay, bisexual, or even transgender were widely accepted in every major religion known today. There are a lot of misconceptions about our community, mostly because a positive LGBTQ education in our schools is only mandatory in a few progressive states. Sadly, other states try to hide history, health, science, and even math away from kids. These misconceptions invite the horrible outcomes we see today. Bisexual couples walking down the street holding hands are beaten up. Gay children are murdered for trying to find a boyfriend. Transgender people are assaulted regularly for using the appropriate restroom. And our police departments are now protecting the criminals who commit these crimes. We endlessly debate the rights and freedoms of LGBTQ people in courtrooms, in legislative branches, and in school board meetings across the country and around the world, as if the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of every citizen can be debated. It's directly because of this discrimination that makes 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously consider suicide every year. Those who hate our community blame us for everything, and even harass children who wear rainbows on their t-shirts, and say they should have a right to check the genitals of children before they enter restrooms, which is creepy. A gay man named Gilbert Baker designed the rainbow flag back in 1978, but this rainbow flag represents more freedoms and equality than any country, state, or local flag combined. It symbolizes our entire mission statement, sometimes called the gay agenda, That agenda is to love one another no matter what. And that's it. That's our whole agenda. So please go out there and be yourself, love whomever you were meant to love, and express your gender no matter what that gender is. Because I promise you, it's valid and perfect in every way. But as always, if you want to learn more about our community, browse our videos here on YouTube, or check out ProfessorPride.com. And if you like what we do and want some awesome rainbow merch, go to pbrmerchstore.com. As always, I'm your host, Professor Pride. Have a gay day, everyone, and bye for now.